Greetings, esteemed viewers. In this educational vlog, we transport you to the captivating world of Shakespearean theatre. Join us as we unravel the intricacies of the bard's dramatic legacy, exploring the unique elements that define the Elizabethan stage. Let's embark on a journey through time and the enchanting realm of Shakespearean drama. Shakespearean theatre or Elizabethan theatre refers to the kind of theatre which existed in England from 1562 to 1642. During Elizabethan times, it was a focal point of all kinds of entertainment. The Church and the Puritans were against it. The London government thought that it was not a safe kind of entertainment to pursue. In fact, it was loved by the Queen and the Privy Council. Many of the playwrights were being supported by the court. Shakespeare enjoyed a lot of patronage and support from Queen Elizabeth. Shakespeare's plays were performed on stages in private theatres, provincial theatres, and playhouses. They were acted out in the yards of bawdy inns and in the great halls of the London Inns of Court. Elizabethan theatres can be classified into two main groups, those within the London district and those located throughout the English countryside. Just observe this map to get an idea of how the theatres were located in England during the era of Shakespeare. There were three kinds of theatres. In yards, Red Bull, Cross Keys, Bell Savage, the Red Lion. Open-air amphitheatres, the Theatre, the Globe, the Swan. Playhouses, the Black Friars, the White Friars, Gray's Inn Theatre, St. Paul's. The theatre was the first theatre building in London. It was built in 1576 by the English actor and entrepreneur James Burbage. It was located in a northern suburb of London on the edge of Finsbury Fields. The theatre was described as a vast, polygonal, three-story timber structure, open to the sun and rain. Its exterior was coated with lime and plaster. It had features similar to those of the future Globe Playhouse and other playhouses of the day, such as galleries, upper rooms, a tiring house and trap doors on the stage floor. The theatre had two external staircases, standing on either side of the building and leading up to the galleries. The theatre was home to many acting companies. It was used primarily by Shakespeare's acting troupe, the Chamberlain's Men, after 1594. Unfortunately, the theatre fell victim to government censorship due to the production of Thomas Nashe's seditious play Isle of Dogs, which prompted all of the London theatres to be closed for the summer of 1597. The theatre did not reopen and was dismantled by the carpenter Peter Street in 1598, forcing the Chamberlain's Men to find another home. The Curtain was the second playhouse built in 1577 in the north of the London Wall. It had the same structure as the theatre with slight changes. The theatre and the Curtain were under the same management. The Curtain was the home of the Chamberlain's Men between 1597 and 1598 before they moved to the Globe in 1599. The Newington Butts Theatre was one of the very earliest of the Elizabethan theatres. This playhouse ran from 1580 to 1595 near Newington Butts at the southwestern end of New Kent Road. Some of Shakespeare's early plays were performed here in June 1594. The playhouse was built by actor Jerome Savage. The Rose was an Elizabethan theatre. It was the fourth of the public theatres to be built after the Theatre, the Curtain and the Theatre at Newington Butts. It was built in 1587 by Philip Henslow and by a grocer named John Cholmeley. It was the first purpose-built playhouse to ever stage a production of any of Shakespeare's plays. The Rose was an Elizabethan theatre. It was the fourth of the public theatres to be built after the Theatre, the Curtain and the Theatre at Newington Butts. It was built in 1587 by Philip Henslow and by a grocer named John Cholmeley. It was the first purpose-built playhouse to ever stage a production of any of Shakespeare's plays. The Globe was the primary home of Shakespeare's acting company beginning in 1599. On 29 June 1613, during a performance of Henry VIII, a misfired cannonball set the Globe's thatched roof on fire and the whole theatre was consumed. Swift reconstruction did take place and the Globe reopened to the public within a year, with the addition of a tiled roof. The new Globe Theatre lasted until 1644, and it was demolished, and housing was quickly built where it once stood. Recent attempts have been made to recreate the Globe, and replicas have been built in Tokyo and in London. The Globe was the primary home of Shakespeare's acting company beginning in 1599. On 29 June 1613, during a performance of Henry VIII, a misfired cannonball set the Globe's thatched roof on fire and the whole theatre was consumed. Swift reconstruction did take place and the Globe reopened to the public within a year, with the addition of a tiled roof. The new Globe Theatre lasted until 1644, and it was demolished, and housing was quickly built where it once stood. Recent attempts have been made to recreate the Globe, and replicas have been built in Tokyo and in London. The Globe stage. The stage had two primary parts. The outer stage was a rectangular platform projecting into the courtyard from the back wall. Above it was a thatched roof and hangings but no front or side curtains. And the inner stage was the recess between two projecting wings at the very back of the outer stage. This stage was used by actors who were in a scene but not directly involved in the immediate action of the play, and it was also used when a scene took place in an inner room. Underneath the floors of the outer and inner stages was a large cellar called trapdoor, allowing for the dramatic appearance of ghosts. This cellar was probably as big as the two stages combined above it. It was accessed by two or more trap doors on the outer stage, and one trap door which was nicknamed the grave trap on the inner stage. Actors in hell would encompass darkness, with the only light coming from tiny holes in the floor or from the tiring house stairway at the very back of the cellar. The tiring house. Rising from behind the stages was the tiring house, the three-story section of the playhouse that contained the dressing rooms, the prop room, the musicians' gallery, and connecting passageways. The tiring house was enclosed in curtains at all times so the dramatic elements of the play production would be hidden from the audience. Two doors on either side of the tiring house allowed the actor's entrance onto the stage. Sometimes an actor would come through the middle door, which really referred to the main floor curtains of the tiring house that led directly onto center stage. There are three different levels of the tiring house. The first level was essentially the inner stage when one was needed. For instance, a scene within a scene, Miranda and Ferdinand playing chess as a backdrop to the main scene in The Tempest, Act 5, Scene 1. A scene in which a character or item needs to be dramatically revealed. Portia asks Nerissa to draw aside the curtains to show the caskets in The Merchant of Venice, Act 2, Scene 7. A scene that takes place in a small confining space, Capulet's tomb in Romeo and Juliet, Act 5, Scene 3. For scenes such as these, the actors would have pulled back the curtains on the outer stage to expose the tiring house as the inner stage. Moreover, the plays often call for one character eavesdropping from behind a curtain or door. There was a tiny room hidden by a set of drapes at the rear of the tiring house. These floor-length drapes or dyed cloth hangings were suspended from the ceiling, concealing the actor. The drapes of the first floor tiring house would have hidden Falstaff in Henry IV, 2:6, when the sheriff comes to the door of the tavern, and would have cloaked Polonius right before he is killed by Hamlet, in Hamlet, 3:4. The second level of the tiring house contained a central balcony staged in the middle. It was used in the production of Romeo and Juliet, 2:2, the most famous balcony scene in the canon. A small window stage on each side of the balcony directly above the side doors on the first floor was used when up to 4 characters had to be seen from a window. A curtained inner room behind the balcony stage served the same purpose as the inner room on the first floor of the tiring house. The third level consisted of a central music gallery and 2 large lofts on either side of it. It was used as storage and dressing rooms. In rare instances, the orchestra was seen by the audience, when select members would come down to the main stage to accompany a dancer or a chorus. In most cases, the musicians played in the third-floor curtained gallery hidden from the sight. The lofts holding the props and instruments were always closed off from the public. In the Elizabethan theatre, extraordinary amounts of money were spent on costumes, and the Globe's storage area would have been overflowing with beautiful clothing. The stage cover. Over the three-story tiring house was a superstructure composed of huts. It was resting on a protecting roof held up by giant posts rising from the main platform. Every contemporaneous playhouse had one or multiple huts, but the Globe's huts or heavens seemed to be the most elaborate. On the floor of the superstructure were several traps, openings allowing props to hang down over the stage or actors to descend to the floor. It was suspended by wires concealed under their costumes. The cannon that was so often fired during battle and coronation scenes was located in the huts. It was the trumpeter who heralded the beginning of a performance. Atop the huts of the Globe and of every bankside theatre stood the playhouse flagpole. When raised, the flag was a signal to people from miles around that a play would be staged that afternoon. The flag continued to wave until the end of each performance. The lack of scenic effect was made good by the poet through gorgeous descriptions and graphic effects of poetry. The actors had to use highly emotional and exalted poetry in order to arouse the emotions of the spectators. With a view that this kind of poetic style may not look incongruous in the day-to-day world, Shakespeare has taken care to place his scenes in far-off lands like Venice or Sicily, or in the land of his own imagination haunted by angels and fairies as in A Midsummer Night's Dream. The wonderful poetry of Shakespeare caused him to make up for the deficiency of the scenery by his wonderful descriptions of landscapes, castles, and wild moors. Female actresses had not yet appeared on the stage. The parts of female characters were, therefore, played by young boys who appeared on the stage in foppish and gaudy female costumes. In order to compensate for the absence of actresses, Shakespeare often contrived to represent his heroines in comedies disguised as men. Instances may be cited from his comedies: Portia playing the part of the advocate, Rosaline visiting her lover as a young shepherd, and Viola serving as the boy messenger of Duke Orsino. In addition to this, Shakespeare also avoided very intimate or passionate scenes of love lest they should arouse ridicule. The Elizabethan playhouses were open to the public eye at every turn, and scenery could not be changed in between scenes because there was no curtain to drop. Shakespeare's plays mostly end on a denouement with the actors walking off or being carried off the stage. Due to the lack of props and scenery, the acting troupes relied heavily on costumes. Even though Elizabethan audiences were deprived of the eye-catching background scenes, they were never disappointed with the extravagant, breathtaking clothes that were a certainty at every performance. The Globe was only in use until 1613. A fire broke out at the Globe Theatre on 29 June 1613. The thatched roof caught on fire, and the Globe Theatre burned to the ground. The Globe Theatre was rebuilt in 1614 and referred to as Globe 2. The English Parliament issued an ordinance suppressing all stage plays in theatres under the force of the Puritans in 1642. The Globe Theatre was demolished by the Puritans in 1644. Strict rules were passed regarding stage plays and theatres in 1647. This culminated in 1648 when all playhouses were ordered to be pulled down. All players were to be seized and whipped, and anyone caught attending a play was to be fined 5 shillings. With the restoration of the English monarchy and the demise of the power of the Puritans in 1660, theatres finally opened again. But the Globe is never rebuilt. As we bid adieu to this chapter, let's carry forward the understanding that Elizabethan theatre wasn't just an artistic pursuit, it was a dynamic force shaping the narrative of its time. The resilience of the theatre community against societal headwinds is a testament to the enduring power of human expression. Join us in future episodes as we continue our journey through the annals of history, exploring the intersections of art, culture, and society. Until then, keep those curious minds alive and thriving.